Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Skalsky, and I am so honored to be here today. Thank you so much, Angie, for asking me to speak. I know I am in the presence of some amazing, wonderful industry leaders, and I absolutely love Homeownership Day. So if you're here for the first time or if you're returning, I hope that you embrace everything you hear today. You are going to learn so much, and learning and educating yourself is the first step that you take when you are about to buy something, if it's your first time buying a home, or if you're thinking about moving up and trading up. So without further ado, my segment is focusing on making time to move up in your home and your career while having kids. And Angie knows, she's been following my whole life year on social media. It's just been a crazy year. And I think a lot of people have felt 2020 was crazy, but I think some people are of the opinion 2021 was probably crazier. So it's been a journey, and I'm excited to share with you how our family is where we are today just because of some decisions that we made in the past with real estate. And first, I'll give you some background though about me. So by the way, just a side note, if you hear kids, those are my kids. And we'll start with that. I have two kids. My husband and I both have two kids who are 3 and 2 years old, Austin and Aria. Both of them are wonderful. They're so much work, but they are wonderful. And I am also a real estate professional. I have been since 2005. It's been really, really cool to experience remodeling homes, seeing our clients flip homes, flipping some myself. And I absolutely love the industry from that standpoint and working with our investors. And I also am a secondary education teacher, now going on a little over 10 years. So I love working with teenagers. I have a servant's heart. And so I'm lucky to be in two industries that are service oriented, because at the end of the day, what we do impacts others. And I think that that's at the core of my why, certainly, and what makes me tick. So it's been quite an interesting journey that started. My husband and I were married in 2012. Like a lot of couples, we rented for a couple years until we decided where we want to plant our roots. And our jobs took us to LA, and we lived in LA, specifically Monrovia, which is near Pasadena. Lived there for about 8 years and just decided, you know what, let's get our foot in the door and buy something. And so we ended up buying a little craftsman bungalow that had a back house, cha-ching. And so we rented that out and to a young married couple that is so helpful financially. So it was really great to be able to have that source of income as we were growing in our careers and everything. And then Austin we brought Austin to our first home when we had him. And then when he was 9 months old, we got pregnant with Aria. And that pretty much expedited our decisions on real estate and needing to trade up pretty quickly. And we didn't have a lot of time to think about it. So we rented out Ivy. We rented the front house and the back house. And then we moved into a larger home. And from there, we didn't know how long we were going to be in LA, much more, but we knew we wanted to be closer to family. So we ended up moving to Orange County ultimately. But it did not come easily. This process all took place in the span of 4 months. We sold 2 homes in LA, and then we rented in Orange County for a couple months while we were looking for our place to buy. And actually the home that we ended up buying, we saw online in Monrovia before we sold our second house. And it was interesting because I'm a firm believer that if it's meant to be, it will be. Not that you have to be, somebody's not going to just come on knocking on your door, dropping something in your lap and say, here you go. You have to put in the time and do the work, become educated, and know what you're doing. But there is something to be said that if it's meant to be, it will be. And it was meant to be, because the house fell out of escrow when we got to Orange County, and we ended up buying the home that we saw while we were in Monrovia, which was really cool. But it did not come without the headache. So I want to touch on that just a little bit. And this whole process has, well, it's the market as a whole is crazy in general, but just trying to maintain your sanity when you have two young kids, you're working, your husband's working, and you're trying to establish a new property so that you all can live in there. It's all worth it. But we, in this whole span of 4 months, our homes that we sold in LA sold very quickly. We were very fortunate. And obviously in this market, there's no inventory. So if you're selling, you're on the right end of it. But we went into escrow within 2 weeks on both of those homes. And we were kissing a lot of frogs before we found the prince for buying a home. And so I'm thankful that we're here now. My personal journey with home buying, I had my first condo when I was 18 that my dad had purchased as a way to get my foot in the door. And we took that money and rolled it into another condo a couple years later. And that takes us to 2008. And 2008 hit and it happened. I'm glad it's over and we're past that, but I did learn a lot from that experience. And all I can say is when you're doing anything with real estate and this amount of money that's involved, just expect that there is risk. And you just have to be prepared mentally that it can be gone at any second. Something can happen with your career. You might get an illness and you're unable to afford the mortgage. Whatever the case is, there's always a risk. And in homeownership. So after I did actually what a lot of people did, which was a short sale on the 2008 property, a lot of people might have, and I think a lot of people were a little shy about wanting to buy a home again, because it was just such a really hard experience to go through, especially when you are still kind of in that first time home buying mentality. So to get back on the horse was really important for me. And it was great to be able to do it with my husband, and we make a really good team because he balances me out in ways that, I need, and vice versa. So we've learned a lot together. It hasn't been perfect. We've made mistakes along the way with our home buying, certain things, that maybe we wish we would have had in a home, or offering too much. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's us, it's our journey, and you learn, you grow, and you try to do better the next time. So with our current home, like I said, this market's crazy. And if this is your first time buying a home and you're ready to take the plunge, or if you're in a situation where it's time for you to move up and it's time, if you are questioning, is this the right time to buy? Only you can make that decision, because this market is not for everyone. I will be completely honest. It's not. It's very hard. You have to have very thick skin and expect to have a lot of, rejection and not as many acceptance as far as the offers go. So you're going to put a lot out there, but one suggestion I would have is to look at real estate as a business. Yes, your home is your refuge. Yes, it is a place of peace and tranquility, and it's a roof over your head. However, you want to make sure that you're also being smart about it. If you're waiting for that perfect house to come along, you're never going to find it. Even if you buy dirt and you build a house from scratch, there will be something that you wish you would have done differently. So it's just the nature of human. I think that we, you hope that something like perfect comes along, but sometimes you have to make those adjustments. So you might not get the kitchen island, but maybe you get a bigger backyard. With that, if you change your mindset and you are ready to, for sure buy, you've been pre-qualified before you sell your home, or you're pre-qualified before you go buy your first home, make sure that you are lowering your higher end, because in this market, you need to be prepared to offer more because there is not a lot of inventory. So I will say that that's one thing that's been really hard. And unless you actually start experiencing it, you really don't get it. Like, you need to just experience it in order to really understand what's going on. Two other things: trust those who are helping you get where you want to be. So don't get connected with someone that is going to say, sell you a house and say, peace out, call me when you're ready to sell. You want someone that's got your best interest in mind and your future in mind, because this is a big business decision that you make, and it's part of your future and part of how you're going to build your wealth. And that's even if you're a first-time home buyer. So just know and ask questions, and be active, take an active role in this process. And on second to that is trust the process, because this is a process. It's not a get rich quick kind of scheme or thing. It's something that, you methodically go through, and you start small and then you work your way up, and you build that wealth, and it can compound if you do it right. So in this market, just be mentally prepared that it's hard and it's exhausting. There were tears on my part, because it sometimes gets frustrating, and that's even with someone that's been in the industry and grown up in the industry. So it's not forever. So every market's cyclical. And I think Logan Motoshami is speaking as well. Make sure to check out his market update. That's really important. And I think the one really big unifying theme, if I can go back to the actual topic here of making time for your career and moving up in your home, is the word season. And I don't mean winter, spring, summer, fall, but just this idea of running your life in seasons. And for me, I'll give you the example too, for just to touch on the career part of it. I had aspirations of becoming a broker and getting my broker's license about almost 4 years ago. And just because my kids are little and COVID happened, that kind of pushed everything back and delayed it. It's okay. And I just had to realize, okay, it's just not the season, Ashley, and I have to be okay with that. It does not mean never. It just means not right now. So give yourself the grace and the space to think about, the timing, because the timing is so important in so many things that we do. I picked up running and a love for running in 2020, and ran my first half marathon on the treadmill last year. And then I ran my first 10K live race this past fall in the Turkey Trot, which was a blast. But I made it my goal to run a half marathon this year, since I was able to accomplish the 10K in the fall of last year. And then you just build on it. So it's no different than when you have a goal, whether it's fitness and health, or your real estate goal, your financial goals, whatever that is. Just know sometimes you have to operate in seasons, and just because it's not the right time right now does not mean it's never going to happen. So give yourself that grace to take a step back and know that you can still do it, and do things that work toward that goal. So for me to become a broker, I have to take a test, and that's going to happen this year. That's my goal for this year, is just, on the career front, to get my broker's license. And then I don't know what's next after that. And that's okay, because I don't have to know the next thing. And, you live in the moment for certain, times, and just one step at a time. And my dad always had this saying. He would ask, how do you eat an elephant? And he would say, one bite at a time. So the idea of seasons when you think about it, seasons are quick. And before you know it, like, I mean, when you have kids, I think you realize how quickly time goes. And if you don't, if you're not careful, the time will pass you. So you have to really make sure and be cognizant of when you make your move, literally and figuratively, with the next step, whatever that looks like. And your kids are only little and young once. And my husband and I choose to enjoy that, because it's not going to be much time before they're going to be, oh, mom, don't drop me off at school and in the front. I don't want people to see me like in the car with you. Hopefully he's not going to be like that. But I think about those things, and because I also teach teenagers, and there is such a growth that happens, and it goes really quick. So enjoy and cherish and just embrace where you are, wherever that is. And just know, if it's not the right time right now, it does not mean never. And on kind of a similar note, remember your why. Remember why you make the decisions that you make, and what your ultimate goal is, and who you're doing it for. There is a lot to be said about this idea of a legacy. And I don't hear a lot of younger people talk about this much, but I always hear, people my dad's age or grandparent talk about what their legacy is. And I think it's a good time to start anytime thinking about what you want to leave behind. And it's not just about the house, but this idea of transferring wealth or building wealth, which certainly we do for us, my husband and I, and so that we can work toward financial freedom in the future. And really, just how does our house work for us? How does our money work for us, so that we are in a position where we're just getting residual income later, and we don't have to rely on other things like Social Security. We've got rent checks coming in and all those things are great. And the bigger picture, though, is what are you teaching your kids? What are they seeing you do, and how you make your decisions, so that when you leave, that they're going to make those smart decisions, depending on if they were smart. But you hope that they're going to take the good and carry that on. And we have a client who's been with us for years, and I love the way her culture views real estate and wealth. And they call whoever is responsible for that property at that time, or multiple properties, it doesn't matter how many, but it's a form of wealth. And they call that person who's responsible at that time the custodian of wealth. And that's passed on generation to generation. So they don't burn through all their money. The grandparents won't burn through all the money. They work toward that legacy of passing that on to the next generation, and so on. And I've always thought that was such a neat way of viewing real estate. And certainly now that we have kids, it really makes you think about why are we making these decisions? Because when you go back to the why, this is with anything, with a career, with the decisions you make with your money, go back to the why. So what is it doing for your family? And maybe you're torn between buying a couple of Teslas and buying a home. If you're in a condo and you're buying Teslas, you probably, no judgment, it's your money, but probably a better idea to put that in something that's not going to depreciate when you drive off the lot. So it doesn't mean not ever. It just means maybe not now in this season. Maybe it's time to buy that house. Maybe it's time to really make that next move. Then you can get the Tesla, and then you can have the house with the charging station and everything. So make the time. You have to build in the time, make it a priority, because it's possible. It will be hard, but nothing that's ever worth having, ever comes easy. So if you put in the time, it's totally worth it. You're going to see the benefit, and it's just a journey, and you just got to enjoy it. So Thank you all so much for being here. I am open to answering any questions. So feel free to email me. Angie, thank you so much again. And I look forward to seeing you all next time.